21 years after an upstate New York college student disappears, a new iHeartRadio original podcast sheds new light on the case. This season, we explore the disappearance of Suzanne Lyle.
He calls up and his statement is, "Did you know Susie was missing?"
We follow her footsteps and dive deep into her world, searching for answers. I'm Phoebe LaFave, and this is Upstate Unsolved. Listen on the iHeartRadio app or anywhere you get podcasts.
The Christina Lynn Podcast.
Who are you talking to right now? Who is it you think you see? Do you know how much I make a year? You clearly don't know who you're talking to, so let me clue you in. I am the danger. I am the one who knocks.
I have a lot of tattoos. So this is going to be a little bit longer of an episode just because, one, I want to, and two, because my Tuesdays are going to be special episodes with a special guest from here on out. So I'm taking the opportunity I have to have a free Tuesday and do a Tattoo Tuesday. Many people ask me the same questions about my tattoos. Did it hurt? What's that mean? Whatever. Well, I'm going to tell you about them now. Therefore, I'm never going to answer these questions in real time again. I'm just kidding. All right, so my first one. When I was 19, I went through a breakup and decided I needed to change something about myself to feel like a new person. Most people just dye their hair or eat a crazy amount of ice cream. I decided to permanently brand myself. As an ode to my new chapter, I decided that the word destiny would be what I could permanently subscribe to. Only problem was, what language? I'm French and Polish, and the word for destiny in French was le destin, which basically is destiny without a Y, and I didn't want to look like I didn't know how to spell it. And the Polish word for destiny, or anything, really, isn't so pretty. And although Chinese was booming as a tattoo fad, I had absolutely zero interest. So I started researching the root of all language, Latin. The actual word for destiny in Latin is fatum, but this would mean that I'd have the word fat tattooed on my hip nonetheless. Then I found the term situs eris. When I searched it a few times, a loose definition of heavens, constellations, destiny, stuff like that would come up. That was good enough for me. After getting the tattoo, I was approached by a friend of my sister's. Said he was a Latin major in college. I explained to him how I knew it wasn't the direct word for destiny in Latin, but he looked at it and said, "Well, what do you think that means?" Seriously. I was ready to grab a Brillo pad and scrub that freaking thing off if he were to tell me I got something contrary to what I thought. He called a professor or friend, someone in his Latin college community, and after about 10 minutes, he found me again and told me this. Situs is a noun. Eris is a verb. So specifically what I got tattooed on my body was to become a star. Thank freaking God. I never met 3 of my 4 grandparents. I always felt some sort of connection to my father's mother, Stephanie, who is also known as Stella, or Star. My grandfather left the room that she passed away in untouched for years. There was a jewelry box in there that one day I was brave enough to ask if I could open, and eventually one day I borrowed a piece of. It was a star necklace I grabbed. Simply a metal star with a metal chain, about choker length, small and dainty enough that I could keep it on forever. I wore it for years. My neck was dirty and I didn't care. But one day, it broke. And with it, I broke. That necklace meant everything to me. That necklace represented my physical connection to the idea of my grandmother. I looked at it as a piece of who I was. This experience is what I thought about when I was trying to figure out my next tattoo. I decided that so I never lose her star again, I will get them tattooed on me. My next tattoo was a row of 15 stars on my back. 15 for my birthday, stars for my Stella. One problem I had with tattooing is that I got emotionally involved with the artists who would tattoo me. Not every time, because there were some I'd just get for the sake of getting tattooed, but I always figured I should be friends with a person who has the ability to scar me for life. And maybe I thought, too, that if they liked me, they may do a little bit better than usual. I worked as an assistant for one of them. He was going out on his own and needed help, and anyone who knows me knows that I'm a problem solver. I dedicated my free time to setting his appointments, running his calendar and social media, and helping him out with other random tasks. He didn't pay me, ever, and when he'd tattoo me, I'd still pay him because I knew that his time was what I was taking more than his supplies. He did some really amazing pieces on me. He was one of the few in the area at that time that was killing it as a watercolor tattoo artist. My first tattoo from him was very important. I had gone to my grandfather's grave and took a pencil transfer of the cross off his World War II veteran plaque at the foot of his grave. I then got that transfer tattooed on me with my grandfather's signature off of his World War II discharge papers. It meant the freaking world to me, and the fact that the artist did it so well, and then I found out that he's also a watercolor artist, it was done. All of the tattoos I've gotten to that point had been basic, plain lettering or outlines. Even though I was permanently committing to a tattoo, I still wanted to keep them under wraps and sacred to me. Until I realized the talent that this guy had. I had him redo the stars on my shoulder and add watercolor to it. I had him do realistic daisies with watercolor behind it on my arm. Then we went for the big one. I decided that I wanted full back wings, but also easily hideable full back wings. I now understand how ignorant that was and have myself to blame for the outcome. He won me over with the previous pieces he did on me, and I gave him requests that were unrealistic and didn't make sense, from the angle of the wings to the coloring of them. It took him almost 5 sessions to get through it. He started by tattooing a spine of a wing, one side at a time. I would wake up in the middle of the night crying and wondering what the hell was on my back and what did I do. I would continually tell myself to trust him. It would all make sense. Tattoos were in phases. I was vague with what I wanted because I thought maybe he knew what I meant. Well, long story short, he finished it and I said I loved it. And I did. At the time. But then I started getting comments on it. What's the clock mean? There was no clock. Are you bleeding? That was watercolor ink. What is that? A butterfly? Yeah. I would defend the piece by saying it was abstract. Then my friendship with him fell apart, and I started reevaluating the pieces he did on me with this new perspective. The cross was great, the daisies, the trillium, the watercolor on my shoulder, all great. My back, my entire back, wasn't. I felt so sad. Not only because I lost a friendship with a very talented individual, but that I had this piece on my back that I was not proud of. Years pass. I approached a few tattoo artists and asked what they'd do, and no one gave me an answer that helped. I lost hope. And then I met someone named Stella who had tattoos that I loved. I asked where she got them, and she explained that what I saw was a cover-up, and that the work underneath was done by my previous friend artist. My hope soared. I thought to myself, oh my God, there is someone out there who is familiar with his work and can produce a good piece out of it. I had to meet her. I sent pictures, made an appointment. I walked in not expecting her to have an idea of what to do, since that's what I was used to. Then she won me over. She explained to me exactly how she envisioned what to do. She made me feel special by using a technique that she hadn't used much before, which was painting the stencil onto my back before tattooing it. Literally a paintbrush, stencil ink, and painting, standing there for about an hour, painting these wings on my back. She created the wings I've always wanted and reinstated my love for my body. Needless to say, my whole keep them covered principle of my tattoos was broken, but I didn't care anymore. In fact, I wish I could show it off more. At one point, I got a heart tattoo on my finger, which ended up falling off. I'm serious. When it went to heal, the ink came up with the scab and it came off my skin. Other words and phrases I have on my body: this too shall pass, in white ink on my wrist. Joie de vivre, in my own handwriting, on my ribs. Breathe, with my sister, on my wrist. And love and fearlessness on my chest. Other symbols: I have a barbell on the back of my neck, a diamond tattoo on my finger, a Rochester City tattoo on my leg, trilliums on my arm for the street I grew up on, and I have a swallow tattooed on my arm, surrounded by black light ink. That's right, UV ink. So if I ever find myself in a rave, I glow. For corresponding pictures, more information, to submit ideas, or to submit a form to be a guest on the show, go to xtinalynn.com. That's XTINALYNNE.com. The Christina Lynn Podcast.
Who are you talking to right now? Who is it you think you see? Do you know how much I make a year? You clearly don't know who you're talking to, so let me clue you in. I am the danger. I am the one who knocks.